don't know why it's done that. I mean, GoPros. Get that out of the way. But basically what I decided is, because it's quite a long wheelbase affair, multiplied by 7, isn't it? We have 183. Calculator, anybody? 183. It's about 40 foot, is it? I think it's about 40 foot wheelbase. So it's a big wheelbase for a model, and running it around a garden railway as I intend it to. We've got a nice, reasonable sized garden out the back. I decided that I should make sure that it was well compensated. And so I've made my own sprung chassis. You can probably see my fingers compressing that, but yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Dunhill. I've decided to scratch build this this spring system, which took about 2 weeks to do it for the 4 axles. So,
Nigel, the springing that you've just demonstrated appeared to be rather stiff. I mean, is the whole thing, when it's complete, is it quite heavy, or? It's not
that stiff, to be honest, Dave. And this, I don't know what the total weight of this will be, but there's a few things. One, I want it to be, yeah, I don't think it's that stiff, but each wheel or each side of the axle is supported by 2 springs. But what I have done for now is cut them to length. But what will probably happen is I'll start to shorten them and stretch them out a little bit to reduce the, shall we call it, the spring tension. Yeah. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. With the motor on here, it's not. Yeah, it's definitely not compressing it. But we'll see, won't we?
Nigel, just quickly to interject, I have put a link to the website for this kit within the chat. So if anybody wants to have a look at this kit and its manufacturer, then please have a look at the chat window, and there is a link there for you.
I think it's nice to support the any manufacturer, but this guy, I don't think he sold any kits outside of the Czech Republic. So I think it would be quite nice to support him a bit. I sent him an email last week saying, telling him what I'm doing, but he hasn't responded. So he's probably going to have a whole load of people visiting his website and ordering stuff online, and he's wondering where the hell it's all come from.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? That'd be good for him and the model hobby as a whole.
Exactly. So I think it should be a good idea. So where are we? This morning I built we assembled the basic chassis of the model. I've got it nice and dirty, so I'm giving it a bit of a clean up. I only cleaned one side, and this afternoon we'll start to add a few of the accessories. The last thing I built this morning was assembled was the battery box, which was done using resistant soldering. For those that weren't with us this morning, which I don't think, I can't see, but I think most of the visitors now are new. This morning,
well, we do have Pia from Germany again. Hello again, Pia, and Alan T, who was with us this morning as well. I think the rest are new to the session this afternoon.
Our newbies. So we talked an awful lot about resistant soldering, which was quite good. I think it's like a normal modelling demo stand that you'd have at Kettering, for example. People come along and they sit down in front of the modelling bench and they start yakketing on about whatever, and we don't get anything done. I am not complaining. This is a day for the guild, and to promote the guild and to promote model railway construction and the hobby. So I think it's a good thing. So I think this afternoon I'll continue assembling all the various components that dot around this chassis. Anybody purchasing this kit will be in for a bit of a shock. I have contacted the Sekul, and I'll contact him again. Is that can't even see that, can you? Everything is in Czech, so and the instructions aren't exactly comprehensive, but everything is in Czech. So it's probably a good idea for me to offer to translate it, because otherwise you lot are going to be stuck. Yeah.
Nigel.
Oh,
sorry, Dave. One question. How is the roof formed? Now, my familiarity with multiple unit kits here in the UK is that the roof is part of the sides. Is that the case with this kit?
No, it's not.
I was going to ask the same question.
In fact, it's fairly horrible. One roof, etch, bonus.
Okay.
And basically, I think that this is meant to be an inner and an outer roof. So it's very, very. It's not easy. It's not an easy assembly. That's one of the reasons why I'm steering clear of doing the body this afternoon. Because if I have to do the roof, I will be very, very quiet. When I assembled this roof here, the roof consists of two parts. There's an inner bit which actually has a ribbed roof like the prototype. These little units run into Kesmarok, just over the station. If I go to my bedroom window and look carefully, I can just see the station from where I am, so I can see what's going through. But it's got an inner roof and an outer roof, and in order to do that, what I did was to I've got I think this is made of ebony, but it's a very hard wood, and I use it for painting and lining, but I also use it for helping me to form the roofs of these. I use it to form the roof of this unit. I annealed it first and formed it, and then I warmed it up again and melted a bit of, put a bit of solder on it, on the roof, so that on the inside of the roof, so that I could tack the two together. And it really was a BASTAR. You can finish the rest of the word. It wasn't the easiest of things to do. But I think this took me to put the roof on here. It took about an hour's work, and then about another 3 hours fettling to get it to fit properly. But yeah, it's come out quite well. The scale of this model, I think it's he produced two models. One was 1/43 and one was 143.5, and one was 145, and this one is a 143.5. And if you look at the thing, compared to a normal gauge, just found my phone. Compared to a normal gauge vehicle in the UK, it's huge. It really is wide. So you know, it's 3 plus 3 bench seats across the prototype. But of course, it's a continental loading gauge. But so, despite being a 4-wheeled unit, you can fit a hell of a lot of people in there. They quite often use these to run in multiple, running people up to the ski resorts close to us. And you see them loaded with skis and people with ski boots and all the rest of it. all crammed in, and it takes about 20 minutes for everybody to get out. so it's quite a interesting model to be building. Right. So yeah, the roof is not fun, and it is not part of the body. To answer your question, Dave, Ian.
The question was posed by Mr. Dunhill, actually.
Oh, Mr. Dunhill. You wouldn't want to build one of these, Nick. You wouldn't want to build one of these. Do you have anything to say, Nick, or do you want to remain silent?
I was going to say that I always find the roof, building the roof on it, I never build coaches, I have to say, for this reason. The roofs are just so difficult to get right. And I'm doing one at the moment, and it's the roofs are kind of a vacuum formed plastic thing, and it's very difficult to make it straight. You know, it wants to bow out in all kinds of areas where you don't want it.
I am listening. I'm just opening the sun's gone. Probably be snowing tonight. Yeah, I hate roofs. I hate roofs, and I hate glazing as well.
I haven't come to the glazing yet. I'll let you know when I start.
I don't like glazing.
Well, I'm certainly also in the I hate carriage roofs camp, and I model New South Wales railways, and a large number of their coaches have bow end roofs as well, which is a right game. And when I did a rail car, which had, in fact, I'll go and get the roof in a minute, and it's got a bow-ended roof with an embedded headlight on the end. There was only one way to do that, and that was to 3D print it.
Yeah, that's definitely the way. That's definitely the way.
The way I've built a few roofs lately is like a boat hull, with a laser cut series of braces in a sort of ladder, and then plank it. And then a huge amount of filling and sanding.
Yeah. I scratch built a Northeastern Railway refreshment car, which basically is like one of the Midland Pullmans. The Midland Railway bought a whole load of these Pullman coaches. I guess they came from a Pullman company, but the Northeastern Railway got hold of one, and I think it was Coach Iona, I think that was its name, and they converted it into a refreshment car, which by all accounts is the first buffet car or on a British railway, which surprised me. But building a clerestory coach with a bow end, you know, where the end of the clerestory comes down and it's bowed like that, and there was a platform on either end of the coach. Oh, the nightmare to build. And doing the roof was the worst part.
Yeah, I've got in my to-do list is a New South Wales EAM sleeper, and they're basically, all those coaches were derived from the Pullman cars they bought originally.
Yeah.
So they bought about 6 and then spent 40 years copying them.
Anyway, folks,
Chinese are the only people who copy stuff.
can I interject as host and say that we've got 14 people here, all eager to watch, or 16 now, all eager to watch Nigel modelling. So come on, Nigel, let's do a bit more modelling.
Get some modelling done. What is interesting about this whole conversation is the fact that everybody builds such wild and wacky prototypes these days, which is so lovely. It's not just sort of, oh, I do the linear, or, you know, there are all sorts and all brands and designs of different railways all over the world, and it's very interesting and encouraging to see. Well, at least I think it is. So, yeah, right. I'm just getting my bearings on this model because I'm trying to work out where to fit this wretched battery box, which I've now worked out. So it sits in here. And I built the first one. It was a nightmare because I built it, and then discovered that I put it all around back to front. So I'm not doing that again because I hate unsoldering stuff. Whoop, don't want to do that. Is the lighting all right? Can everybody see okay?
Yep.
So this morning we put in a floor. So for those of us joining from who weren't here this morning, the reason why I put a floor in is because being an open coach like as it is, there's an awful lot of detail that I can include in the model. So I decided that that is what I would do. And by putting a floor in, that means I can put a bit more detail in the model. I've got hours of fun soldering up and manufacturing bench seats for this coach. It's going to be great. Right, I'm just tinning the inside of this battery box, and not that I'm a proponent of putting solder on your soldering iron before doing it. It's the best, quickest way to get this thing to work. So that's that done. Final check that this is the right way around. Yeah, there we go. Right.
Nigel, you appear to be working without any visual instructions, or is it? Are you copying the first one that you built?
Yeah. Here's one I prepared earlier. So I am doing that. There are the instructions, like I explained. They're not the world's best, and frankly, anybody purchasing this model, I would definitely recommend that they. I might even tell this Sekul guy to give them my contact details so that I could talk it through, because it is not. I don't think it's the easiest of models to build. Right, so spot of resistant soldering. Is everybody familiar with resistant soldering?
Having done it, but I've seen it demonstrated many times.
Hot, 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 hot. There we go. Right. We had the conversation this morning, but if anybody wants us to go over it again, they can put something on the chat. I'm getting the chat up and running here.
Yes, chat is running, Nigel.
Yeah, I can't see it though, because it was just a. I got a bit of abuse from friends on private chat this morning, which was quite amusing. As everybody may or may not know, the advantage of resistant soldering is the fact that you can, it keeps the model very clean, and you only use the amount of solder that you need to, which I think is a good thing. It mightn't be very good for purveyors of solder, but it cuts out a lot of the work time involved in building models. If you're building a kit, I've found with people building these things is they say, right, I've built it, I've assembled it, now I'm going to clean it up. And they spend hours and hours diligently scraping away the excess solder. But I don't know if you can see that, but there isn't any on this. That's very hot. But, I want to see if this bloody camera's working now. I don't know why it's done this. I unplug that, maybe I can see the back of it. Maybe it's going to work now. Try again. Oh, it's still booting up. I do apologise. It's still gone back to that again, hasn't it?
Is that showing what you've previously recorded, Nigel,
Well, I haven't. Yeah,
rather than showing the live camera output?
yeah. I haven't recorded anything. That's the thing. But I
Okay.
heard it. I heard it set off by itself. It's a GoPro. It's a GoPro. There is a solution to this, but this is not what I wanted to be doing. To do that.
Whilst Nigel's fiddling with his equipment, it's worth mentioning that all the presentations that are taking place today will be available for viewing after today. They'll be on the Guild, they'll be accessible from the Gajo Guild website for a period of, is it a week or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. So you'll be able to watch it again at your leisure.
How bizarre. It actually decided to start on take a slow-mo video. I'm going to make everybody feel sick in a second. I can look outside. Let's see if it's going to work. Come on. Yeah, look at that. Look, we've got a bit of blue sky there. Right, okay. I can't be doing this without being able to see what I'm doing.
Well, we certainly don't want it in slow-mo, Nigel, or you'll never get it finished.
Well, exactly. Are you going to screw it or not? Right, in theory, battery back power charging, video reconnected.
While you're just messing there with the camera, John Birch has asked, what is the prototype?
John Birch arrived late.
He did.
Hello, John.
Hello.
The prototype is a CSD, which is Czechoslovenský dráhy, Czechoslovakian Railway, class M152 railcar. And I'm building it as a Slovakian Railways railcar. We're out of focus now, aren't we?
That's right. That's good.
I'm building.
It was all right with my left eye.
So I'm building it as a Slovakian railway railcar, and I've got two of these kits. One is meant to be the trailer unit, but and it came free with the railcar. But seeing as how it's exactly identical to the railcar, except it doesn't have the engine in, I'm building them both as motorized vehicles. So that's what it is. And the reason why I'm building it is because they, like I said, they run past the end of our street, but they pass us locally. So next to that is this one. So rather than reading the instructions, I'm just looking at what I've prepared earlier, so that I'm copying it. God.
Nigel, what method do you use? Oh, you're just about to, I think you're just about to answer my question. What method do you use for removing the pieces from the fret?
I use a very old, I think it's belonged to my grandfather, a very old blunt, not blunt, but not sharp knife onto a wooden block, and it cuts through. I'm going to be, as well as doing an article about this, building this model, I'm going to write an article about building that 440 in the background. The lighting isn't very good now, is it? Which is a Northeastern Railway D-class. And the reason why I want to mention it now is because one of the things that DJH have started doing, DJH Engineering, whose kit this is the kit designer included where the tabs are for cutting out. If you imagine that this is a DJH model, where the tab is, you can't get at this on this model. It's really, on this kit, it's really difficult. It's actually etched out on the fret, not on the piece, on the fret. It's actually etched out a little slot where you can put your cutters in. And it was the best thing I've ever seen for assembling a kit. It was so easy for cutting them out. And I don't know why other people don't do it. It made it so much easier. I certainly give them like a 10 out of 10 on that one. I should be building one of those today because it was so easy.
I'll speak on behalf of all kit manufacturers, but certainly some of them I've come across, they think they're doing you a favour by putting rather large tabs to hold the small components onto the mainland, but in actual fact they only need to be tiny little thin tabs, because if you've got one on each, let's say each of the four sides of a small component, that's enough to hold it. It's not going to fall off. It makes it much easier for removing, with a knife such as you've got there, Nigel.
Yeah, exactly. What I found with this one is that the tabs aren't that bad. They're all right. It's much of a muchness, but like I said, I know it's plugging a manufacturer, but what a good idea to just have a little cutout so that you can, so that it's easy to cut the fret out. It made the build time a lot quicker and a lot more, shall we say, joyous to assemble.
Are the tabs half etched through so that you're only having to cut through half the metal or thickness of metal, or are they?
Yeah, they're on this one they're half etched, which is standard.
That is standard practice.
Nigel, I've got a kit that was designed by DJH for an Australian company.
Oh, the Garrett?
Tabs on that are triangular, so that they pull the cutters away from where you might damage the part.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same designer who's done that. Was
I agree with.
Did that was it 2 or 3 Garretts under construction? I saw that on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, I've got one on the go, very slowly.
There was somebody who's got 2 on the go. He just
Great man.
Well, yeah, indeed.
Nigel, the ones I saw that were on Facebook seem to be hosted by a gentleman somewhere in Europe.
Oh, really? I don't know.
There is a chap somewhere in Europe who I think is trying to build every single Garrett that's ever been made in the world. They just got to think about Garretts.
I had a thing about Deltics, and I bought 22 DJH Deltic kits, and I've built 11 of them, and I had enough. And since moving to Slovakia, my interest in Deltic and certainly the Type 5 locos has waned to such a degree that I look at the boxes and go, Yeah, I might get rid of these. So if anybody's in the market for a low gauge Deltic kit from DJH, I've got quite a few for sale. I've just realised that life's too short, and you have to. You should be building what you want to build, and not with the hobby, build what you want to build, not what you're lumbered with. But the youth was wonderful. Life was great in those days. Right, shall we see if we can do some close-up? I don't know why I'm doing this close-up work, because people look at it and go, oh, you didn't want to do it like that. Right. So this has been folded up and, where are we? That's been folded up and the joints have been soldered. So it's nice and strong, that ain't going anywhere. I will be putting this, I'll mainly be putting this in here. Fits quite nicely. And it's now fallen off.
Where can I buy asbestos fingers?
If you burn your fingers long enough, often enough, it doesn't affect you anymore.
But what was there to give you a position for that component, Nigel?
Standard model railway thing. There's a hole. There's a little etched hole. There's some tabs on this component, which will allow you. Can you see there? Which will allow you to solder in the. Oh, that solder isn't flowing very nicely. That's better. Okay.
Are you using solder paste or cream, or is that normal wire solder?
Just normal wire solder.
Right.
One of the switch this light off. One of the reasons I use it, I never got on with solder paste. Maybe it's because I bought a bad batch or something, but but using a resistance iron, that's the only bit of solder that's showing there. So I don't really even need to rub very much along here to clean it up. So it's a really, really, really clean joint. So if I was doing that with a normal iron, I go, right now then I'm going to get this out and I'm going to spend 10 hours cleaning around here. I can get on with the next bit.
Just a quick one. Sam E has posted, there is a German chap using the name Garrett Maker, is he who I was thinking of, who's building the Garretts. I've had a quick look on Facebook, and it is a Mr. Jürgen Engel, who's in Australia, who is currently building 2 of the DGH Garrett kits.
There you go. Jürgen
Engel.
I think one will do me.
One's enough, is it, John?
I'm sorry?
One's enough.
More than enough for me, especially as I'm going to build it in scale 7 and spring the chassis.
Yeah, well, I'm a big proponent of compensation. I think it's a good idea. Right.
This one's going to be done with continuous springy beam. Because it's 8 coupled, it works very well on 8 coupled.
That's good. Right. You can tell this is quite a reasonably old kit because the oxidation on the brass is quite pronounced. To answer anybody's question, no, I don't know where I got this brush from. But as a fiberglass brush goes, it's one of my favourites. You attend a guild event, Telford or all Kettering or the like, and you're wandering around and you see the stand selling the interesting tools.
Does it have a brand name on it, Nigel, or a maker?
Nothing. It's all it has around it is a like a string around the outside of it. I guess it holds it together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So presumably, as it wears down, you keep on winding the string, do you?
I unwind the string and I actually wrap a bit of electrical tape around the ends of it so that it don't end up with shards of fiberglass everywhere. I normally model late at night on a weekday as I wind down from work, and quite often I go to bed with bits of fiberglass. Well, I bet we've all done that. Bits of fiberglass in your fingers. You can't sleep because you've got fiberglass in your fingers. No known cure.
For everybody who's actually listening, I've just done a bit of Googling, and there's a company called Cousins UK Wholesale, which appear to sell something of a much larger radius than we're used to. For those who want them, they do. Hang on a minute, I'll just go back there. They can do 10, 17 and 20 and 25 millimeter diameter.
Fiberglass.
Yeah. It doesn't look quite like yours.
Google is a wonderful thing sometimes. Oh, I did want to drop it down there. Now I don't know which one I've done. This is the mechanism which I will not be making working. There's a mechanism whereby because a lot of Slovakian railways have the platforms are very low down, the ground level platforms. So you walk down a set of steps to get down to the ground level. And this is the mechanism when the train pulls into the station, they open the doors and this sort of steps concertina out. So it's going to be fun to assemble. Had it as a working, it would be very interesting. Probably a bit like the Great Western auto trailers with the handle that they had inside the auto car, where you could fold. You pull the handle like a signal on a signal, in a signal cabin. So you pull the handle and the steps folded out. I'm yakketing on it. I'll stop that. That wasn't me.
It was I. Apologies for that.
Switch mine off now. Right, so I'm just scoring these etched lines because these are the fold lines for this box, shall we call it? Get my favourite pliers. 90 degrees. Not quite that far. That's about right. 45 degrees, and it's not bad.
Just while you're doing that, Nigel, Sandy has said use a 3M scaring pad or a Gariflex block rather than fiberglass for cleaning the brass. Easier on the fingers. I must admit, I do agree with him there. I've started using a Gariflex block, the medium, I think the grey ones, quite regularly now for cleaning brass.
Are those But yeah, that's a good point. Are those the ones sort of like a rubber, like a big eraser?
Like a big track rubber, yes.
Yeah, I've got some of them. I agree. The one thing that I always wondered about that was because it's rubber, whether it's going to leave leave a small deposit on the.
I think from my own experience, the only issue you do have is the compound can actually break down while you're using it, especially if you're doing some heavy scrubbing. But I mean, it's another one of those things that you've got in your toolbox. You use one item for one thing, another item for something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So thanks again, Sandy.
That's a good point. Right, what I've decided to do is I'll do those in stages because that is hot. So how did it go? 90 degrees. 45. So if I bend this over, I hope people can see what I'm doing here. Is the camera all right?
Yeah, fine, Nigel.
That's good.
It's 15 hours.
Do you know I never switched that off?
Go on with your modelling.
I use it when I'm working because I spend at the moment we're rebuilding a website for work, and I spend so much time on it, and I get bogged down by it for so long that I lose track of time. And by losing track of time, I like to have a break every so often. Otherwise, you need to mobilize. Is that the modern parlance? So whenever it tells me the time, I mobilize myself. I shall not be mobilizing this afternoon, though, chaps. Come on. That's better. Too much. Hot. So I hope everybody after this will be going back and starting to do some modelling themselves, and it's not just me that's been doing it all afternoon.
Well, as you may have seen from Facebook, Nigel, I'm currently working on a 2 EPB, so I've got the other coach to complete.
Are you doing is that Black 5 you're doing or something as well?
Yes, as well.
Pete Bennett's not on here, is he, Dave?
No, I'm surprised that he hasn't joined in.
Yeah. So
Um,
what I'm building, what I'm starting to get away from rail cars is a Great Western single, which is a Scorpio kit, which I decided I'd do, but I'm doing it for my mate and neighbour Peter in the UK. But he doesn't know this, so he does now if he's listening. But I'm gonna post it to him and say, can you test this for me, please?
So we do currently have 2 participants who are user and user 1, so he could be one of those 2. And also Sandy has posted, my workshop is presently in painting mode.
Well, being redecorated, Sandy, or or painting models. Hot, hot, hot. Right. 2 more of these to go.
Sandy's replied, no, he's painting models.
Good man. I think it was Robin this morning, Robin Taylor, who came on this morning and said, you shouldn't have a tidy workshop, should you?
That was me.
That was you. Yeah, it was part of that conversation. So what was the wise words, Dave?
I just said a tidy workshop is a sign of a sick mind.
Or an obedient husband when his wife tells him to tidy up.
Is that Sandy Gorski I can see there?
He says no, but we know it is.
Pierre's back. Hello, Pierre.
And we have Torsten Fryer as well, who's the German, Austrian, Swiss country rep. Hello, Torsten. Welcome.
Hello, Torsten. Can he rep in Slovakia as well? It's only just over the border from Austria. I think I'm the only member. Was it you that said that here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Gajo Guild group meetings in Slovakia would tend to be not very well attended then, Nigel.
Well, it's 100% attendance by the members, yeah. I'm trying to get my son interested in it, but he's gone through a phase of building model plastic kits and things. Everybody should have a hobby, especially a child. But I can't get him interested in railways. It was great when he was young. He used to love them. But now, come on.
Nigel, I was just looking up Peter Bennett's number to give him to text him to ask if he wanted to come and join us, but I don't have his mobile number. So
Yeah.
he'll miss out on a very entertaining session.
Well, I hope it is entertaining. I don't know what to make of this. I'm on my 4th. This is the last one. That is the problem with modern locomotives. You're building a steam loco. You know, there isn't that much repetition, is there? Maybe horn blocks and stuff like that, but there isn't the repetition that you have with modern image, if you want to call it that. Is 1973 modern image? I don't know.
I think it is. Who knows? Because I think they keep changing the goalposts.
Apologies to Sandy for calling you Sandy Gorski. I always get you two mixed up. One of you will have to change your name.
So which Sandy is it then?
Sandy Harper.
Sandy Harper. Welcome, Sandy. Ha, hot. Right.
I don't know whether you've answered this question previously, Nigel, but what is the motor unit? What's the power unit for this? Ah, all right, good.
Diesel 2-stage, 14:1, 3/16 axle. The one thing is the final gear that attaches to the axle. I measured it, and it is 1 millimeter less than the diameter of the wheel at not the flange, the tread. So it will pass over track work as opposed to projecting down underneath and getting in the way. The wheel diameter on this model is tiny. I think it's about I think it's 3 foot diameter.
So will that gear not be visible then when it's
Well, it'll be
when it's running, when it's going along?
oh, it's sort of maybe I don't think so, because it's going to be right in the middle and there's going to be stuff around it. You know, it's I mean, it's not. It's all going to.
I think that's just asking to go rack and pinion, isn't it? At that size.
Yeah. I'm not doing that in the garden.
Now, there's an interesting thing. One of our local Northants group members, who now lives in Sheffield, he actually had a working rack and pinion layout. He modelled Swiss meter gauge, and there is a track work system, a proprietary track work system, you know, for rack and pinion. Well, there was. I don't know whether it's still available.
From a Swiss manufacturer, no doubt.
I think it was, yeah.
Slovakia's got some very interesting railways. Apart from the fact that all the railway stations still retain goods yards, so you do actually see trip freight working down branch lines and things like that. It's got the only not horseshoe. What's that one which goes all the way around in a full circle to climb? What do they call it?
Spiral.
Spiral. That's the word. It's got I think it's got the only spiral railway bit of railway track outside of Switzerland. Somebody's going to go, no, but there is. But that's my understanding.
North Wales.
Say again?
North Wales, the Festiniog Railway.
Does it do the same?
Yes,
So,
there's a complete circular loop, isn't there?
I don't know. I haven't been there for ages. I have to ask Peter Bennett, but he's not here. So there's that. There's also a rack and pinion. What do you call it? Cog railway, but it's on the railway line, but it's down for the old steam locos, and which they run a preserved steam loco up this line every so often, which is great fun. And at one end of it, there's a nice bar, so it's even better. It's also got a preserved. Have a coffee, please.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a good boy. The slave has arrived. There's also a preserved railway line. So it's like a meter gauge, or narrow gauge even, a place called Cherny Balog. Black Balog. I don't know what Balog is. But anyway, part of the railway line runs through the football stadium.
Oh yes, I've seen that on the TV.
Yeah, and about 2 years ago, I went on the we went for a ride on the line, and we went through the football stadium in the middle of a football match. So it was fantastic. Very, very enjoyable. It was nice. Something different to do. Right, so we have 4 of these little monkeys done.
I know you said you weren't a fan of glazing your coaches, but presumably you're going to have to do that on this. what method is used for the glazing? Is it purely just a whatever stuck on the inside, or is there a bit more technical than that?
The designer of the kit obviously hasn't thought of it and made no consideration. I hate glazing. No, I don't hate glazing. I hate sticking glazing. I built, for my son, I built a lightning, as in the English electric lightning. And I built this thing, and post-war, I think it's called Modern Motive Power now, but post-war prototypes, who you never see in the guild, you never see him, you know, advertising in anywhere. But he does some nice O-gauge kits and stuff. He does some nice suburban coaches, but he also does overlays for the lightning. So I bought this kit and built this beautiful model, and with all the overlays and everything, and painted it, and I spray painted it, so all the silver finish on it, and it looks absolutely perfect. It's hanging in Patrick's bedroom, my son Patrick's bedroom now. And then I turned my attention to the cockpit, the cockpit glazing, and you're meant to glue a overlay over that to form, which has got all sorts of detail on it. And I glued it, and of course the glazing went opaque. That's my thing about glazing. I hate it.
A couple of things. Firstly, apologies for that recent telephonic interruption. Apparently, I've recently been involved in an accident, which I didn't know about.
Oh.
Sandy has just asked the question, unless I missed your reply, Nigel, what sort of flux are you using? Or did you reply whilst I was off?
No, we've had that conversation earlier on, didn't we? It's the phosphoric wet stuff, as opposed to the paste, which some of the people mentioned. As to a reason why, no reason. I just prefer it. I don't know. I find it easy to work with. Right.
Sandy also mentions that canopy glue worked well, presumably for glazing. Dries clear and grabs well. So canopy glue, whatever that is.
Does canopy glue stick metal? I know it'll do plastic to plastic, but does it do metal?
While Sandy is typing, another option that I've seen people use is Watchmakers Glue, which they use for sealing the obviously glass faces onto watch bodies.
Ah, now okay. Yeah, that probably will do the trick, wouldn't it? I'm just running a little bit of.
Well, Sandy's replied to say that it's a type of PVA.
Ah, well, that wouldn't stick metal, would it? But as a PVA for, yeah.
Whilst we're on the subject of glues, I recently used, not in a modelling context, I have to add, I recently used some so-called Gorilla Glue. It was in a small bottle with a nozzle, and I squirted it onto whatever I was sticking, and after 10 minutes, the thing still hadn't stuck. Then I decided to read the instructions on the bottle, and it informed me that both surfaces have to be moistened, which I thought was rather strange.
Thank you. My glamorous assistant brought the coffee.
Yeah. So obviously that particular brand of glue, or that type of the Gorilla Glue brand, requires both surfaces to be moistened. I was sticking wood to cardboard to wood.
Okay.
And it just would not stick until I moistened the surfaces, and then it worked. So obviously the moisture sets up some sort of, reaction to make it work.
Yeah.
which is the complete opposite of what what we're led to understand with glues. Everything must be scrupulously clean and dry.
Super glue does the same. You need it for, same for super glue, don't you?
Super glue works in the absence of air or oxygen. So there has been recommendations that I've seen where if you try to glue two items together that are moist, the glue will grab better because there's a lack of air stroke oxygen.
Mm.
And Sandy's holding something. Yeah, Sandy's holding Canopy glue up now.
Canopy glue.
Yeah, from Zap. So one of the Zap range.
Thanks, Sandy.
I've also put a link on the chat for people to have a look at GS Hypo Cement, which is a watchmaker's glue.
Good.
There we go. I think it's been quite productive today for everybody. We've learned a lot, haven't we?
Very educational.
Yeah. See me get
Everybody will be gluing for dear life tomorrow. All these products have been recommended.
to readdress that one. Come back to this. You have to refer to the one I prepared earlier. All right. Okay. Dobre. Sorry. Good. I think I'm going to have to just tin this a little bit. I spoke to somebody yesterday about what I'm doing today, and he said, "You're brave." Everybody would tell you you've done it wrong. Look, it's alive. That's better. Can't see the side I'm soldering. Touch more of the old flaxseed. Has anybody been on to any of the other parts of this virtual show?
No, I've been too busy watching you.
Burning my fingers.
And I've been too busy making sure that Dave's behaving.
Watching him, watching you.
Sandy has just posted, he's watched part of the Finish 7 Q&A session.
It's one of those kits that I want to do. I'd love to try a Finny. There's a nice, they do that nice rover kit, don't they? Again, totally the wrong period, and well, not necessarily the period, but certainly the railway that I want to be a bit modelling, but it's just interesting. This is fiddly. Trying to work out how to do this without burning my fingers. Right, just a little bit, little dab in there. You take it? Oh yeah, heck.
Sandy has suggested try magnets. I suppose he means you have a very strong magnet on the inside and one on the outside of the of the item that you're soldering. Is that correct, Sandy? Lovely, thank you.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, personally, I'm old school. I'd use a wooden clothes peg.
Yeah, I can't get it in there, I don't think. Oh, come on. Go on. You stuck now. There we go. There we go. Okay.
I'm going to leave you with Ian as host for a couple of minutes because I need to go and fetch something which I want to show you. I was suddenly reminded of this when we were talking about acid flux this morning. So
We'll see you in a second then.
you are now host, Alan.
Ian.
Sorry, Alan Ian.
Thank you, Smith David.
I shall be back shortly. Don't call me shortly.
See you shortly. Oh, that's a bit messy. I've done a Mr. Blobby. This one isn't behaving itself one little bit. I'll come back to you when you cool down a bit. I don't know if anybody has looked at it, any of our visitors, but look at Nick Dunhill's section. He's done a time lapse of him building one of his locomotives, and it's fascinating. So he's got a camera pretty much like this one, just sort of over his shoulder, but he's time lapsed it. And I think I don't know, a 50-hour build is compressed down into about 2 minutes. It's really good. Mass exodus of people leaving Nigel to go and see.
No, we've got some stable viewers who are enjoying your build, and I'm sure they're enjoying the information that's being given.
That's what they should have done in the old days, shouldn't it? Instead of having Grandstand or World of Sport, they should have had a World of Modelling. Although I guess live streaming isn't one of those things from that time. Are you stuck or not? Have you, heck? Ugh. You mentioned them. Where is it? Because I tidied my workbench and now I can't find anything. Down in the cellar. We're on the second floor, so I'm not going to the cellar.
Question from Sandy, and I think I can answer that in yes, he is using a Mignon Studios RSU.
I am. It's lovely. Have you got one, Sandy? Or is that so? Sorry. More modelling, less talking. Get in there. I'm using the Mr. Blobby School of Soldering at the moment, just to try and get this thing to hold. That's better. Ah! That's why.
Sandy has replied. He says, I didn't think there were any more around.
This one is 25 years old, I think. Are they collector's items?
Were the Mignon Studio RSU pretty much the first on the market for modelers?
I think they were. I remember when we bought this, Robin Taylor, who's been on earlier on this morning, and I think there were 3 or 4 of us in the group, in the Keithy 7 Mill group, that purchased them. And I think it was Mr. Mignon, whoever it was. I think it was one of his earliest orders that he had. One big model group buying a whole mass of them. I swear by it, he says, grabbing it. That was hot. Oh, I know what I've done wrong. See? All this blooming talking malarkey. It doesn't run. I forgot to blooming tin it, didn't I? Right. Now we'll see some progress without burnt fingers. Oh, look at that. Soldering is one of my favourite things to do. I like soldering. When I was at school, I got in engineering metalwork. I don't think they do things like that nowadays, do they? Because of health and safety. But my teacher was demonstrating soldering to this class of numbskulls, of which I was one of them, and he was doing his demonstration of how to solder, and he was using one of these gas soldering irons, you know, where you heat it up under the gas and then.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he was doing the demonstration and making a right old mess of it. It was terrible, and, because I've been in the hobby for quite some time. Even then, I'd probably been soldering for 2 or 3 years. I knew how to solder, and so he says, "Come on then, smart ass." He says, "See if you could do better. Show me." So I did, and he actually said, "Do you know, I really doubted that you could do that. You really peed me off by tutting like that." He says, "But yeah, well done, lad."
Can I chime in a minute, please, Nigel?
Of course.
You'll recall that this morning we were talking about the pros and cons of using solder paste as opposed to, sorry, not solder paste, flux paste, liquid flux or acid flux, whatever you want to call it. And I made the comment that one of the problems of using acid flux, in my experience, was that it causes rusting of anything which is ferrous. Now, I used to produce, in a former life, I used to produce corrugated steel sheet in 7mm scale.
I have some.
Made from 2 thou thick, that's 2/1000 of an inch thick, steel. And when it's supplied, it actually has a very, very thin mist coat of oil, obviously to prevent it from going rusty. So the first thing you have to do is to remove that, otherwise you can't solder to it. And I have here a little demo diorama which I constructed, which I used to show at the various Gauge Guild shows. And if you look at it, you will see there is the bright shiny, hang on, I can't see it myself. There's the bright shiny corrugated steel as it comes freshly from the rolling process.
Yeah.
And if I move along, that, wrong way, that hut, can you see that? Can you see how rusty it is? Now that is absolutely genuine, real rust. Because if I rub my finger on it, it actually comes off on your finger. Now that was done. I soldered that little shed up using acid flux, went for my lunch. Half an hour later, when I came back, it had gone rusty like that.
Wow.
That's what it does to. But you know, the effect was exactly what I wanted to, you know, to achieve. So by accident, if you like. So there we are. We have a rusty shed.
Well
Really,
done.
real, genuine O-gauge rust. Anyway, thanks for letting me share that with you.
You couldn't do it. Oh, what's going on here?
Pierre has just posted, thank you for your impressive demonstration in live time. Unfortunately, I have to leave the meeting now. Thanks to Nigel. Take care all. Sincerely, Pierre. Pierre, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Indeed.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Pierre. That was nice. Think of making things rusty reminds me of when we were building Ravensbeck, our Northeastern player, Keithy Club, Keithy 7mm group, I should say. And one of the things that we were doing was using steel wool to resemble bramble bushes on the side of embankments and cuttings and things on the railway. And what we did is we got the I've gotten really small. Sorry, I can't see myself. We got the steel wool and we're teasing it out like this, and then spraying it with water to make it rusty. And in the teasing out, Robin Taylor, who was on earlier on today, sliced the end of his finger off because of the steel wool. But so that was one of the stories with it. But steel wool is really good for the base of the scenery for the brambles. So we glued that down onto the embankment, and then we applied foot powders to give it a bit of green and texture and all the rest of it. So in order to fit that, what we first did was to spray it lightly with PVA and then sprinkle it on. But later on, we discovered that by using cheap hairspray, you could spray it on as a lacquer. So you'd sprinkle the stuff, the flock on, and then lacquer it. And that was great. Absolutely fantastic. And when Ravensbeck went out on its first show, it looked fabulous. You know, all this beautiful brambles growing everywhere on the side of the railway line. It looked the dog's bollocks, excuse my French. But unbeknownst to us, some of the steel wool sort of unwound itself from the rest of it and approached the side of the railway line to that degree that there was a bit of wire wool touching the rail. So the resistant soldering, so case in point, is that the wire wool, it created a point of resistance, and with the hairspray, it actually caught fire. And we had genuine line-side fires on Ravensbeck.
Well, you can't get more realistic than that.
Yeah. It was it was quite an experience.
I had a similar occurrence when I had my outdoor railway. I was running it in the dark one evening, and all of a sudden I noticed sparking coming from the track where there was no trains running. And upon investigation, there was I drilled holes through the copper-clad track, well, copper-clad point work, to pin the thing down to it, you know, to the wooden bearers, and it was actually arcing through the copper-clad surface of the sleeper, through the brass pin to the copper clad on the underside, because for some strange reason these points were constructed with double-sided copper. So you were getting contact from one side to the other, albeit that there was an insulation gap on the top. Because the pins that went through each end of the sleeper were making contact, you'd actually got a short circuit, and one of them was actually arcing against the brass pin. But for the fact that I saw it, you know, I could have set fire to my entire garden railway that night.
There you go. Oh, the fun we had.
Never knew railway modelling was so dangerous. What with burning yourself with soldering irons and inhaling fumes from you know, flux.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Electrocution.
Yeah, electrocution. Another Ravensbeck story. The middle of Ravensbeck, we've got a big control panel where obviously you could control the two circuits of the track. And Robin, who by trade is a electrical whiz, created his own capacitor discharge unit for firing the points, because in some cases we were firing multiple runs of points, so we needed a good old whack to get these old H&M motors to move across. And basically it had a curly cable like you'd use in an old-fashioned telephone exchange, where you pull the plug out and plug it into there. It's a big curly cable, which at the end of it was a probe where you used to touch it onto the end of a screw head, a round screw head, which formed the direction of which way you were going to fire the points, which is great. You know, it worked really well. It had a whacking great big capacitive discharge unit, so when you tapped that, bang, then the points went across, and you knew they'd gone home. Because it was a child chaser, if you had any facing points that weren't set right, I mean, it could be fairly terminal for the poor train. So anyway, you'd be there with your point probe, can't really see it, can you? Point probe like that, and you'd be leaning on the control panel like you would be doing, and driving the train and enjoying it. You'd be watching the thing go round and round and round. And I don't know, maybe it's me with bad habits, but you tend to put things in your mouth, don't you? And I was leaning on the control panel with my elbow on some of the point contacts, and I did that, and I electrocuted myself, and I burnt my lip, and I actually changed the points through my body. That's how powerful that capacitive discharge unit was. You only do that once, I tell you.
Your body must be very low resistance, and that's all I can say.
I think it was a hot, sweaty day. Let's put it that way.
What are you doing now, then, Nigel?
What's it? Sorry.
What part are you actually doing now?
Right. So I've just finished assembling the door mechanisms, shall we say, or the step mechanisms in relation to the doors on the rail car. So if it's sort of, how can we see this? Light away. So So basically,
Oh yeah.
you press the button or pull the handle and the doors open, and then some steps go and fold out, which is what this kit does. So I've just fitted those four onto here. What I'm noticing as it's coming together, of course, is that the body or the chassis is steadily tightening up and stiffening up, which is quite good. It should give me time to make sure that it is sitting flat, which it is, which is good. So the chassis is sitting flat. I'm just going to go and switch a light on behind me now, because the sun's starting to go down.
Can we, Nigel? Can we have a look at the one that you've, that's almost complete? Can we have a look at the front view of it? See what it looks like.
Where are we? Here we go.
All right.
So that's the front of it. So it's literally a little cabin, and the driver sits. Hello. Sits there. There's a light at the front there, which I'm scratching my head how to do that.
Just wondering if there's any resemblance to any of the earlier BR multiple units. Although I know that's not a multiple unit, but
Not really.
no.
Not really at all. It's a very thing. But these were exported into. This thing's just started recording.
Also, is it a trick of the light, or are my eyes playing? Are the window frames raised? Are they? No, I'm looking at the sides, Nigel, where your thumb is.
They're not raised. There's an etched. It is. It does go in there, so raised, and it does drop down there. So it's a half etch all the way around there, and the opening window section at the top, that's a full etch. That's the full thickness of the metal.
So effectively, 99% of the sides there are etched away, halfway.
No, at 99, they're not etched away. So just this little bit here around the edge, that's etched away.
Oh, so that's below the surface, not
Below the surface.
Ah, sorry, I think it looked. Now you're holding it now. In fact, it rather looks as if that's proud of the surface.
It does look like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
Carry on.
I will. There are lots and lots of references. I need to find it now. Can't really tell.
Is that the actual one?
Well, that's one of them, yeah. Basically, the class, where is it? The class 810s, of which there's only this amount left, they were later modified into class 811s and 812s, but they're all very much of a muchness. They're all very much, very, very similar. There's some fantastic sources of information over here. I mean, you think, oh, it's only the UK. It's a very flippant statement, isn't it? It's only the UK where you've got railway enthusiasts. But as we all know, wherever you go in the world, there's always people that are cranks, and you can get books like this. This is a book all about the class E479 or class 131 Bo electric units, and as a book with the drawings and fully illustrated. It's written in Slovakian, unfortunately, but nowadays you can photograph things and use Google Translate to translate it. But the fantastic resources if you wanted to build the continental model railway stuff, even sort of obscure places like Slovakia, you can get all sorts of interesting things. So, but that class of Loco celebrated its 40th anniversary this year, so they ran a special train, and the special train got cancelled because of COVID, and they ran it again in earlier this month, and a few British people came across, and I went there. It was lovely, lovely day out. Freebie train trip behind a big freight loco. It was wonderful. Right, onwards and upwards. We'll go on to another bit. Get it assembled. How are we doing for time?
10 to 3. 10 to 4 your time.
10 to 4. What times is this all meant to finish?
7 o'clock.
I was going to say you can go on so long as you like, Nigel. There may not be anybody watching you, but
Yeah, exactly. 3 o'clock in the morning. Haven't they finished yet? Look, my workbench is now. See, what I normally do is I work for half an hour, go and make a cup of coffee, which is over there getting cold, and then when I come back, is I tidy everything up. Found it.
well, if you recall, Nigel, we'd got it all planned that you would be talking for 20 minutes, and then well, after every 20, sorry, you would be modelling for 20 minutes, and then we would have a question and answer session,
Yeah.
and then you'd carry on for another 20 minutes. But that all seems to have gone out of the window, and it's been a sort of a bit of a free for all, really, which is not a bad thing.
It hasn't been bad, I don't think. I've found it. I mean, if it's all a learning curve, isn't it? It's the first time that we've done this as a guild, and
well, if you were doing this face to face at a show, for example, you wouldn't necessarily sit there in silence, modelling away, and then say, right, any questions? You'd be chatting to people as you.
which is exactly what we're doing.
What you're doing. Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing for the for what we're doing, because it is very much like a guild event. Then. I don't find it.
I've just had a quick check of the timetable of events, and this session is slated for about 3 hours duration, so up to 1600 GMT.
5 o'clock. Oh, so you've got an hour and 10 minutes to go then. Is that right? Might have a few minutes looking at seeing what other people are doing. I wonder if Anthony's finished his coach yet. This is what his coach looks like.
Ah.
I don't know which one he's building, but this is this is a Poppy's wooden coach, Northeastern thing, and as you can see, I haven't glazed it. but yeah, but they're a great kit. Great kit. The roof, the way the roof fastens onto it, it's a really good design. Nice kits. Certainly the body and the what do you call it? The frames, the sole bars. That's the word. They were great. The under frame, the compensation system leaves a little bit to be desired, but you don't have to use that. You don't have to use them. You can buy them separately. The ventilators in the roof are lovely. They're 3D printed, and they even look like ventilators in that you can actually see through that way as well. So yeah, I'm not peeing on his bonfire. I'm just saying how good his kits are. Okay, so where were we? Go and have a drink of water. So this goes here.
I don't know if everybody's read the message from Torsten. He's saying, I am well, go to work and enjoy life as much as possible. The current situation also bothers us. Club life can only take place at a distance. I cannot actively participate in the discussion due to insufficient fluent language skills. It's really nice and entertaining to listen to you and see familiar faces again and to meet new ones. Best greetings to all and keep upright.
Thank you, Torsten.
I did pose a question to Torsten, just asking him how he is, because obviously he's the German, Austrian, Swiss rep. Met him a couple of times, so I'm glad he's well. I'm glad he's here with us this afternoon.
That's lovely. Is that are you the Torsten who does the absolutely incredible scenery? Have you seen it? Seen on Facebook? I'm sure there's a guy called Torsten who's done some incredible scenic model railway modelling. So I don't know. No answer. Ian?
He's not replied yet. I mean, he might type something in reply, hopefully. So Torsten, is it you that has posted some wonderful images of scenery work that you have done? Have you put anything on Facebook?
How? Tapping away on Google Translate.
Well, to be honest, Torsten is a bit, what's the good word? Self-depreciating, because his English is very good, to be honest.
Yeah. Like a lot of people on the continent. I mean, I speak a bit of Slovakian, but you know, you go in to a shop or something similar and you sort of try to speak in Slovak to people, and they say, good afternoon, how can I help you?
Well, for what it's worth, Nigel, I spent 10 years going over to Poland, driving the trains in Poland, and
yeah,
I can still only speak about 6 words, one of which is
Piva.
beer. Pivo.
Torsten has replied, no, it's not him on Facebook, so he's not guilty. But Torsten is quite a common name for men in his age group, much like John is in the UK. Thank you, Torsten.
Thank you. So this guy, this Torsten, that I saw on Facebook, the scenery, you could actually mistake it for the real thing on the model. It was so good.
Was it similar to that photo that's gone up of the thumper unit?
Is that yours? Your model, yeah, that scene was very good. It's amazing how scenic modelling has come on in O-Gauge, because for a long time it was a little bit lacking, as people sort of concentrated on making their locos coaches. But nowadays it's fabulous to see such interesting and such interesting prototypes. Because I knew I was modelling today, I have a very railway modelling dream last night. Because before I went to sleep, I was reading a book about Brunel's atmospheric railway, and I actually dreamt that I'd built a model railway that worked with an atmospheric railway, model railway.
Did you have scale rats eating the leather as well?
Well, yeah, there was probably. I don't know if you ever had one of these dreams where you can take over the dream. I know we're getting a bit sort of wacky now, but take over the dream. And I was dreaming about how would you do it? How could you build a model railway? Could you build that scale flappy thing so that the model could be sucked along? And yeah, it's one of those dreams I had last night.
Well, there's something which would be even more of a challenge to replicate in model.
It's 16 hours.
There's another hour.
And that is the railway which was built in, which was part of the attractions at the Wembley exhibition in 1925, I think it was. And it was a circular railway which consisted of a number of carriages which were pulled around by a rotating screw down the centre of the track. Now this screw had a variable pitch, and it was so arranged that as the carriages approached each of the, I don't know, half a dozen stations, let's say, the pitch of the screw thread got finer, so they slowed down. Never actually stopped. People could then jump on and off, and as it got to the end of the platform, the screw pitch became much coarser, and off they accelerated.
Really?
And they were positioned. The cars were positioned around the track in such a manner that there was always a carriage on the platform. Now you try doing that in model form.
Right.
I'm interested to know how they did it in real life, because the screw would have had to have been supported somehow in bearings. And how did the nut or whatever it was that was engaging the screw to pull them along, how did that get past all these, bearing joints?
Yeah.
So there's your challenge for next time, Nigel.
Right, we'll do that.
Okay.
No worries.
You can write an article about it afterwards.
And for everyone else, that was the Yoreth Lewis Railway,
There you go, you see.
inspired by the Trottoir Roulant, or moving pavement, of Paris in 1900.
Am I right in saying it was 1925?
Yes, it was, it was built, let me see, where has it gone again? It was built for the 1924 British Empire exhibition, which was during 1924 and 1925.
There is, in fact, a YouTube clip of it. I think if you go onto YouTube and put in for your search, non-stop railway at Wembley or words to that effect, you'll see it, and it's quite hilarious to watch, actually.
Interesting. Right, I've just discovered one of the reasons why I shouldn't have put that floor in. I have to cut a small notch out of the tab that sticks through here.
Sorry about that.
Oh, well, I don't know why, sorry. No, it's
The music. Okay, I've just posted a link in the chat box to that very film that Dave has just mentioned. So if anyone wants to bookmark that and have a look at later, please do.
Do we think that there should be more demonstrations in the next show? Is one or two enough?
Well, if we can get people to, oh, sorry about that, hang on.
Well, you and Ian will be doing something next year, aren't you?
I'm sure Ian will show us his modelling talents, skills.
Tell you one thing, I really like doing this because it's a Saturday afternoon, and normally I'd have to be in the garden or I'd have to be doing something in the house. Maybe the ironing, you know.
Torsten has just posted. He participated twice at the on-tracks in Utrecht, Holland, with his British 00 layout. And he says, sorry, wrong track, but that's okay, Torsten. In 2012, he came to O gauge. I agree with Nigel. Lately, senior has become more important in 7mm as well. In the past, it was nothing like that. The focus was more on the rolling stock.
Yeah.
I think that's fair comment, because it occurs to me that as the scales or gauges get larger, there is less and less attention to scenery. And I mean, taking gauge 1 as an example, there are very few gauge 1 layouts, let's call them. Test tracks, yes. Garden railways, where there's the only scenery is the real life, you know, garden. But the emphasis in gauge 1 seems to be on running trains, whether they be electric or steam powered. And all the attention seems to be, the detail seems to be in the locomotives, other rolling stock. And like I said, the only, on some layouts, the only scenery is the occasional signal, or signal box. But I think O gauge, probably because of the size, and you can get more into a smaller space, scenery is, I think, very important.
Robin isn't here, is he? Taylor, are you here, Robin?
No, he's not. You can say.
I think we went to Utrecht with our scenic O gauge layout called Runswick Bay.
Oh yeah, remember that.
On Runswick, yeah, it wasn't really a model railway; it was a railway running through scenery, which we always designed it as such, and it was hugely popular. But I think I don't know who owns it now, but it was sort of sold on, like we got rid of it a few years ago, and it's moved on. But I don't know if it's doing the exhibition circuit anymore. But of course, you need the rolling stock to go with it as well to complete it. But yeah, it was.
There's another famous layout. I don't know whether it still exists, and I think I'm right in saying it was called Chilton Green.
David Dirty Row.
In N gauge.
Yeah.
Which, when you first looked at it, you wondered whether there was even a model railway there, because it was hills and greenery, and then if you look very closely, there was a railway line running right through the middle of this lot.
Yeah.
And then if you think about it, if you were out in the countryside.
Dave, sorry, just to quickly interject, apologies. Sandy has just posted, thank you, Nigel, for an informative, he says half hour, but he's been with us longer than that. I'm off to continue with some painting. Enjoy the rest of your day. And he's holding up what looks like a...
It's James the Red Engine.
It is.
You can't slap me from there. What is it?
Midland 044.
Let's unmute him, and he can,
he's just, yeah.
if I can find where I'm looking. You can unmute yourself, Sandy.
He has done.
Okay. Yeah, it's Aganoria Hunslet 060.
Very nice.
Was used on the Manchester Ship Canal, and it's now preserved at Severn Valley. And the owner wants it as it is preserved, which is this incredibly horrible red colour. So that's what he's going to get.
That's what he's going to get.
Yeah, and it's got some.
Lovely.
I've got lining to do and all sorts on it yet. It's got red and black lining all the way around it. So interesting little model.
Very
Lovely.
nice.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of
Okay.
your day, sir. Good to see
Yeah.
you.
And you. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Bye for now.
Sandy.
That's nice.
Philip Morgan is back. Hello again. How is it going? At the end of the demo, Nigel, it would be great to hear about O-gauge in Slovakia, say 3:45 p.m.-ish, which is 4:45 your time. Or have you discussed it already?
O-gauge in Slovakia, I've seen one, I think it's made of cardboard, or certainly it's not electric railway model of a class 350 Gorilla, which you might know what that means, Phil. No, it's a big, whacking great big electric locomotive, very powerful, the most powerful one built by the CSD in the 1970s, I guess. And that's the only O-gauge model I've seen other than the stuff I'm doing. It's quite sad, actually. So my intention for next year is to attend this model show at Poprad and try and publicize O-gauge a bit, because there's plenty of ready-to-run HO stuff, but there's nothing in O-gauge around. Like I said, this is one of the kits, and the other one is a class 749 Grumpy Bardotka. That's it. So any other O-gauge that you see in Slovakia, I think there's only me, unless seeing you suddenly get somebody coming out of the blue in the Czech Republic or Slovakia joining the guild.
If I do see anybody join, Nigel, I will definitely let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please do. It's very lonely over here, you know.
I think one of the problems is, for all you know, Nigel, there might be somebody, I mean, not everybody who model railways belongs to a club or society.
No, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, we discovered, our local group recently discovered somebody living in our own town who chose not to be, he's an O-gauge modeler, but he chose not to join the Gauge O Guild. He doesn't belong to any of the local model railway clubs. So, you know,
Well, there might be somebody.
It was only by chance that we came across him. In fact, we were going to invite him if he'd like to come and join our, well, at the moment, Zoom meetings, but hopefully, when we are able to get out and about again, our fortnightly get-togethers. Well, if anybody is a sort of a, old modeler who perhaps for whatever reason doesn't want to belong to any group, you wouldn't get to know about them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean to say they don't exist.
That's true.
There'll be dozens of them out there for all you know.
Could be. I saw at one of the shows that I attended in Poprad, there was a guy who builds beautiful model stations, which were scratch built, and he obviously visits the station, measures it up and builds it. But of course it's HO again, so you never see it. So right. Oh, I've just cut the wrong day out. Big Blanca.
Ian,
Yes.
reference your earlier remark. I think you'll find that Nigel's session ends at 3:30 GMT.
Oh, okay.
Because at 4 o'clock there is to be the announcement of the winner of the modelling competition. And in fact, I had timetabled this session to end at 3:30.
Okay.
So you've got to hurry up now, Nigel, and get that finished in the next 15 minutes.
Well, as I was saying, Dave, I was only going off what was on the Guild live timetable website.
Well, check on the live timetable and see if that's what's advertised.
I'm going to do that just as we speak.
It says 1300, Slovakian railcar class 810, building continues. Estimated duration 3 hours. I'm only the messenger.
Right. Well, in that case, that's at odds with what I told everybody. But you know, if you're quite happy to carry on, Nigel, and if people are still happy to join us and watch, then we'll carry on.
You can do. I should have gone on to that modelling thing, because are they only voting for the models today, or has it been ongoing for some time? I think it's only today, isn't it?
The voting is only for today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The winner will receive a magnificent trophy.
Eventually.
Oh, I forgot to say actually, which I missed. Philip, he wants to ask a couple of questions orally. So I've given Philip permission to unmute.
Right, thanks very much.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, how did you come across the kit for the rail car then?
I sort of Googled. I Googled in Slovakian,
Yeah.
and I found this guy. Perseverance, I think, is the term. But have you seen the link for the kit?
Well, I haven't looked at it, so yeah.
So there is a link to the company.
Yeah, I've seen that there's a link. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously it's all in Czech, but if you use Google Translate to translate the website as when you go in there, you'll get the details. I mean, it is fairly scant. It's not fantastic. Even in Czech language, it's sort of like a photograph of the kit and buy it here. But yeah, that's how I found it.
Yeah. So I mean, how did he come about to produce a kit, and has he got anything else in O gauge? Has he got, say, ETS or something like that? So
He's got a Grumpy, which is a class 749, is it?
yeah.
Diesel Loco, classic Czechoslovakian diesel Loco, very popular. I don't know how many kits it's sold, mind you. And the kit is available in two periods. So, or the two versions that were built. There are sort of very small details of the ribbing down the side of the Loco, which you can see. But he's got that, and there's a refrigerated. I don't know if it's a bogie. I think it's a bogie van, a refrigerated bogie van, and those are all in O gauge.
Yeah.
And then he does a lot. Most of his stuff is 4mm is HO and TT.
Oh, okay. But I mean, if he's into O gauge seriously in some way, which it sounds as though he might be, that he probably has got ETS models, which are from the Czech side of what was Czechoslovakia. So.
ETS models? How do you mean?
Well, ETS produces a big range of tin plate.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think he's got it because he is a kit manufacturer, so he's not a shop. He's a kit manufacturer.
Yeah.
And so, but I found. Yeah, there isn't in O gauge. There isn't very much around. There's an who's the American manufacturer? Is that
well, MTH was doing.
What? Who?
MTH.
MTH. Yeah.
He was doing European, or was doing European. They've gone out of business now. So.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, yeah. The chap's retired, and the business then sort of folds if it's that type of business, because there's no tooling or anything, because everything's made abroad, made in China and so on.
Right.
So it's really coming up with the idea and design. I presume do a bit of design, and then they market and sell things for limited runs. I suppose Minerva and so on are very similar over here. So.
Oh yeah, that's a shame. I'm glad you've told me that, because I wanted to buy some of his big oil tankers, the big bogey oil tankers.
Yeah. Well, he's still selling off stock, so there's some stuff that will still be available, but it's not producing anything more. So,
so he's just selling through the old stock, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, that was a very interesting conversation. Thank you for that. I'll probably get some ordered.
Yeah.
Because I would like to have a nice rake of wagons running around. Kesmarock, where I live, if I point, the station's there.
Yeah.
And just over there, next to the station, is a big oil terminal. It's a bit like Buntsfield.
Yeah.
But it's right near. Well, I think when it was originally built, it was on the edge of the town, but the town, the industrial area has grown round it. And but if it ever went up, I think all the windows would go out here. But yeah, I wanted to buy a whole load of wagons to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian, if you could allow me to share screen, this is for Nigel's benefit. I can show Nigel what's available. Yes, can you do that? Or if not, if you pass the posting back to me, I can probably do it myself. Share screen. Let me see if I can do it. Oh, I can, actually.
While you're doing that for Philip, in the chat box, I've put the URL for the website that takes you to the rail car that Nigel's currently building.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, I can get that up now, I suppose, can't I?
Yes, that's there now, so you can have a look. And then if you click on it, it will just open, obviously, a new window for the website.
And the link is on the sort of the intro spiel to my thing as well.
Oh, I lost you now. I can't have lost you. So
yeah, if you want to come back, obviously there's the Zoom icon at the bottom of your screen, which you can just click on to come back into the meeting to see everything on your screen.
I am here.
Yeah.
That's ETS. So has come up now. So.
Yeah.
I got very excited when I spotted all that lot, and then I realised it was all course scale and or tin plate, and I thought,
well, it's tin plate, but it runs on Pico track, so
they do quite a range. In fact, there's only a sort of small representation on this page of their site, but you can see they do trams as well.
Yeah, and of course they've done lots of things in the past as well. And so there's lots of second-hand stuff around as well.
Anyway, that's
ETS.
That was ETS.
Yeah. Incidentally, it's all 1 to 45 scale.
Yeah.
The proper scale for O gauge, of course. So.
Try telling that to the Americans.
Well, they do 1 to 48, of course.
Indeed.
They're too small and they're too big, and yes, and the Czechs or the Slovaks are correct. So.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So yours is correct scale for O gauge. So.
Right, back to you, Nigel.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks.
That's right, Phil. Before you go, one of the things that I'm looking at doing, and I've been discussing with a few people, and it's an ongoing project, and that's to produce a Class 477, which Poprad depot just down the road from us here, and it's a 484 tank Loco, built by Skoda. And when it was built, it was the most modern tank engine around. I mean, the equivalent would be the Class 4 80,000 series, Class 4 MTs. And the Class 4 MTs look so backward compared to this Loco. I mean, this is a big tank engine, but it's got mechanical stoking, it's got electric lighting systems, generators, and everything. But this beautiful Loco, and it's a big num thing, is based down in Poprad, where just down the road from us. So, and I can go and see it anytime I like, because I know the depot foreman, who's also a railway enthusiast as well as being a railway man. I've spoken with David White, and he said, yeah, he can make the wheels if we want them. So, you know, to try and encourage the continental thing, if that's what you're wanting to do, is that I'm going to try to get one of these available as a kit.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is to see if I can source manufacturers over here, because I think that it would be good for the country, and also it would probably be good for the price as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you model, Phil. So
well, I model American and French, so and
right. So none of that's already used to you then.
no, I'm afraid not. But no, I have either American or French on my layout, which is mainly in the Golden anyway. So it's French at the moment. So,
I am on your mailing list for the.
Yeah, well, I recognise your name, and we may well have met, and I can't really remember. So
hopefully we can meet up again at some point in the future in Winchester.
Yes.
You're going to do the event next year, I presume.
Yes, we are. Yes. So. And I advertise the cook breakfast that always comes with the exhibition. So many of you who haven't been and want to cook breakfast, that's the place to come. So, and you get an exhibition as well.
Because I fly in, because I do have a place in the UK still, but somebody lives there. So when I fly in, the last time I went to the old show, I flew in and I stayed overnight in a hotel just down the road.
Yeah.
And stupidly booked a breakfast.
Ah.
So I turned up there and everyone going, oh, bloody hell, they do this really good breakfast. And I wasn't hungry at all. So, yeah, didn't have that. So there we go. Right, so onwards and upwards. Get this piece on and we'll, half an hour to go. So nice to see you, Philip.
Well, less actually, if you want to, obviously, if Dave's booked it till 2:30, if we went to say 1:45, gives everyone time then to go and have a look at the announcement for the modelling competition, for example.
Yeah, we can do that.
Good idea.
I've also put a web link up to the Class 477 Locomotiva. If anyone wants to have a look at that, and it is a beast.
I've just looked at it, and you are right, it is a beast.
Ask Dave, ask Peter Bennett about it. He's ridden on it.
Has he?
Yeah.
I shall see him on Monday, because we're having a virtual meeting on Monday. So
we're having a meeting on Monday. Well, I'll see you on Monday as well.
Yeah.
So.
At least I think we are. Is it first Monday in the month? Is it? Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I'm putting my last box on.
3:30.
Well, thank you very much. I shall say goodbye now. So,
okay. Au revoir. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in.
Okay. Bye. And thanks to everybody for organising it. It's been super, actually. So everything's gone extremely well, except for Cornwall. I don't know whether they got started in the end, but that's the only thing I couldn't get to work. So Anyway.
No, I agree with you there. I checked their website, and their website was just seemed to be data.
Yeah.
I know the first session on Facebook there was no audio, but I'm hoping that they got that sorted out.
Okay, because I don't use Facebook anyway. So yeah. Well, thank you all very much. It's been super. So,
That's good.
okay.
Nice
Thank
to
you,
see
Philip.
you.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.
All the best.
Bye.
So what was that? That I didn't have audio?
Monksbury, the live running sessions from the Cornwall group. The first 10 minutes introduction to the railway, which was at 10 a.m., was completely mute.
Oh. I think our little session's gone quite well. To be honest, I'm pleased that we did it the way that we did, even though it sort of naturally went that way, and that we sort of decided to be chatting like this and bring people in. I think if we had 500 people watching and banging questions at us all the time, then of course we should have stopped. But you know. So should we call this the last piece for the day? Oh, we've got 15 minutes.
I think so, Nigel. Yeah.
Unless people want me to continue, but you know,
well, we're down to 7 now.
we're down to 7. We have a quick question and answer thing, and maybe if there's any, switch the thing on for everybody, and if there's any things we can do better.
Well, as I said earlier, they'll all be able to watch this again, and others who missed it in the first time round will be able to watch it through the guild's guild website. I'm taking lots of notes as I'm listening to you, Nigel. So, apologies if you can only see the top of my head.
Well, you can only see the top of. Look at that big shiny head. I actually cut my hair this morning because it was getting a bit shaggy.
Which one?
I was accused that because as my hair grows, it's just my wife said, "You look older," with her strong Slovak accent. So. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. So. I think if I wasn't talking, I'd have got probably a bit more done. Oh, that side's hot still. But you know, it's coming along. And what I'll do is I definitely will aim to get an article done for the Gazette to sort of follow up this and have some pictures of it in a more of a finished state.
As well as the Gazette launching next month, i.e. in theory Monday, I think, on the website, on the Guild website, there is going to be Gazette Extra. And that will carry content that there is no space in the Gazette for, or like today, videos as well that people have submitted. So that's going to be a new feature on the Guild website from next week.
That's good. So there we go.
So of our current participants, viewers, has anybody got any questions for Nigel or any observations of how his demonstration has gone?
You better switch their sound on.
We can unmute everybody.
Don't be shy.
We can ask them to unmute themselves if they want to. I've done.
Sam E, I don't have a mic, sorry. Okay, no problem, Sam. But if there's anything you want to ask, please do feel free to type a message and we'll pass that on to Nigel.
guess the big question is do we want to do this again?
The big question is, do we want you to do it again?
Well, that's up to you.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Thank you.
As your area rep, I say you should do it.
It's me told. What I might do, if we're going to do this again, is I'll put a list up of stuff, work in progress, and say, what do you want me to build? Because it might be that building a rail car isn't everybody's cup of tea. So people might like to see a Loco under construction. But I don't know.
I think the rail car has been good because it's not a typical prototype that is modelled.
No, that's true. That is very true.
It's something that is very niche and different. And I think that's why it makes it that little bit more interesting.
Yes, yeah. It's been good for me because it's being able to participate in a guild event despite being, well, it's from Keshamrock to Harpole in Northamptonshire is 2,000 kilometres, almost to the kilometre.
Yeah.
So it's it's a long way away, and I feel privileged to being able to sort of contribute, which is good. Oh,
Well, thanks for doing it, Nigel.
that's all right. My pleasure.
And if there is a meeting on Monday, you'll get the invitation anyway.
Yeah.
From Noel.
Yeah.
And we can have
We can
another natter on Monday.